Risk management, I think, is actually the most important part of the quality system, particularly in the early stage, because really the quality system describes many aspects of the business. Again, it's a codification of the way many parts of the business are run. I think at Oculeve, we even have a pest control procedure, right? It's how are we going to handle mice if they show up. That doesn't matter when you're starting in the very early stage. But what does matter is whether you're building something that is going to cause harm to someone. And taking a very careful and sober look at that and all the dimensions by which a product or procedure or the environment that you're setting up could result in harm to the patient, to the physician, to those around them, or frankly just result in a non-ideal efficacy. And so it's really just a great process, and at the end of the day is not only better for the patient and the physician, it makes for a better product. One example of that actually is a colleague of mine works in the consumer goods space. They very recently just had a major recall that was related to a materials issue. And I was asking, I was like, oh gosh, how could that happen? I mean, didn't you guys catch that in your risk analysis? And he said, risk analysis? It's like, oh, wow. And they made a bad decision based on a material, went through all the effort of development, manufacturing, marketing, and didn't find out until it was out in the marketplace that they had made a fundamental mistake. And so the good news is in the medical device space, there's regulation that makes us do that, but and sometimes regulation can feel a little constraining, but in this case, it's really there for good reason. Risk mitigation and the way that it works in practice is, it can even frankly just start off with a brainstorm. I mean, you guys are very used to brainstorming at this point, spending lots of time at the whiteboard, draw a big circle and all the spokes coming out from it. We've done that dozens of times in the very context of risk mitigation as well. And so what happens is you list all the ways that a device could pose risk, and that's not only in the technology piece of it. You dissect all the pieces of technology. What if X fails? What if Y fails? What if Z interacts with A? But also in the way that it's used as well. So, for example, with our product, we actually have one of the risks is what if a child sticks it into an outlet? And it's something that we had never thought of, and was like, oh my gosh, you know what? We have to make a design change. I mean, that's a real issue. I mean, it's going to be out there, and some kid probably will stick it in an outlet. And so it was really an important example of how how that process that really starts off as something that you're already familiar with really brainstorming. You put it in a document, but identifying a risk and then mitigating it, ideally with the technology change. If you find something that has that either has a high probability of happening or high severity or some combination of the both, or is frankly just easily addressable, then you develop a mitigation strategy. And the best mitigation strategies are engineered mitigation strategies. And so you change the technology so that that risk is either diminished or not present anymore. And those are the best. Some things, there's just nothing you can do. You just have to put it in the labeling. And you have to say, beware, this is a risk, so that the physician and the patient understands that that's a risk, and they can take appropriate action to try to mitigate it themselves.